Recording.
My name is Justin McCullen. The time is 7:04. I call to order the Transportation Safety Committee meeting for Wednesday, May 15th. This meeting is being held in accordance with a hybrid format in accordance with state regulation by both the governor and the general court to allow for hybrid meetings. I find quorum here. I will do roll call. So Justin McCullen, chair, present. Rebecca Tarantino.
Present.
Donna Mullen, not present. Barry McNeely.
Present.
Gus Grierson.
Present.
Tyler Gabrowski.
Here. Present.
Tom Ryder.
Here.
And Lieutenant John McGrath is not here as of yet, but we do find a quorum of the members present. And we do have, I think, Bob Wilson on Zoom. And I know he's,
panelists.
what's that?
Brought the panelists. There you go.
And I think because Bob technically is the advisor to the, not a voting member, we can do all voice votes for everything. We don't need to do roll call. If we had a member that was on Zoom, we would have to do roll calls. So,
Yes, I am here. Hello, everyone.
Let me see, approving the minutes from April 10th. There you go. So April 10th, everyone gone through that was here. I myself was absent, so I'm going to abstain. And Rebecca was absent, Donna was absent. So were there any issues, comments, or concerns with the minutes as presented in the agenda packet?
No.
Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to pass the minutes.
Move to pass the minutes.
Tyler passes. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second, sorry, Barry, and then any discussion on the matter? Hearing none, we come to a vote. All in favor to pass the minutes for April 10th, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? I abstain.
I abstain.
And Rebecca abstains, but we do find it passed unanimously. Perfect. I used to have a gavel, but I think the CBA took it. This one, Daphne was here. So old business status report. There's a couple items I know that we've been, wasn't present the last meeting. I know that we kind of, wanted to kind of go over some of the status reports. So I will hand over to Bob to kind of bring us through the status report. I know there's a couple others that perhaps maybe aren't on there that we can kind of talk about after your status report.
Okay, here we go with the rundown. I sent along with the status update some of the results of the traffic studies that were performed. Starting off with Brookline Street near the Mitchell School. We only have westbound in that particular case because although there was a counter out for the eastbound side, the battery ran out of juice and we only got about a day and a half of data. That's the way it works sometimes. But anyway, westbound, in other words, going from the school down the hill towards Manning Street, the volume as shown was about 881 vehicles per day, 110 in the peak hour, and the 85% speed was 35, which is a little high, and they did say it was a little high, and it's going down the hill too.
Yep.
So that was it on that one. I'm not quite sure where we go from here, except to say that they are in fact going over the speed limit.
Isn't it marked? But it's marked as a school zone, right?
It is.
Yes, but at that particular location where the sign was, it was a little bit beyond that from where the school zone is. It was a little further down the hill toward Manning.
Context on this one. So a petition came in, the petitioner submitted more than one. For the overall, she said the section between the school and Manning Street where the sign was positioned, because of the downhill slope, she was observing a lot of speeding. She also mentioned that the distance between the street and the sidewalk is pretty narrow, which is not entirely inaccurate, the sidewalk, does get a little tight, along that corridor. The other thing is that she had mentioned that on Google Maps, when you're on that street, it's showing a 40 mile an hour speed limit. I'm not sure how that could be, but, if MPD is able to help us with that, I'm not sure, but, it's certainly not 40 miles an hour.
Would that be on the ways as well, you think? 'Cause
Yeah,
Google and
I
Waze-
think they draw from the same data set.
So we do have an account with Waze, maybe we can see, check that on Waze. And so we have a municipal account.
Have we talked to them before about their showing?
No, we were just using that for, potential detour routes to see how we can do detours on Waze.
Yeah,
So check into that.
so I think I would have liked Lieutenant McGrath to be here to ask him about that particular part of it.
What is the signage around there? Like what's the speed limit signs there? Are there?
Advisory signs, I think.
The school signs up on the top of the hill,
There's a school zone 20.
Right.
but once you start going down, there's no signs.
Garrison, are you able
There's
to
an
pull up
advisory sign.
Brookline Street
That's it.
by the Mitchell
Yeah.
School?
But the presumption there is
Yes.
not
Yes.
35.
Correct.
Yeah.
And there is an advisory sign that says 30 or no?
I believe there's an advisory that actually says 30 somewhere on that.
So can we just,
Well, that's right. Did we saw?
I,
we
I
saw-
think, I think it was on the other side of the school, though, heading down the other hill. If I recall, Greendale, yeah. Mhm.
so there isn't one on there, on the other, the end we're talking about?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I mean-
so it starts from basically home, like, well, between Dell and Holmes going down towards, Main Street.
So where is what is the space of, that we're looking at now? What is the space of the school zone? Like, where does that, Dell should be the school zone,
Yeah,
right?
it's right around Dell through.
It's basically Dell through just beyond Bancroft. on the other
Yeah.
side.
Yeah,
That's,
That sounds right. That sounds right.
In front of the property.
the flashing lights are at the property.
Yeah, so a
Yeah.
lot of people think that school zones are wider than they really are from a regulatory perspective.
mhm.
Bob, what is the, I believe it's like, there's some measurement,
This be in front of the property.
Right in
Yeah.
front of the Tom is right. From the property from the school property where it abuts the road to the other side where it abuts the road on the other side of the school. It doesn't
doesn't-
go like a certain like 500 feet. It just where the property ends, that where the school zone ends.
So should we be checking to see what there is for signage that makes it clear that it's?
yeah, Garrison, could you street view, right near the.
Looks like there isn't anything.
The Dell, Brookline.
There's paint markings too, we checked that.
Yes, there are from the school zone is fine, but there's nothing between the school zone and Manning. To indicate other than a stop sign
Yeah,
approaching
so there's-
Manning as well as a small.
So going in the other direction, Garrison.
There is a like a
No,
slow
like
kids
turn
sign, whatever, like a small little,
Well, yeah, but the other question is like, why isn't it, so why would it go
Yeah,
from
this, so
20?
as we go down here,
Right, so why would it go from 20 up to 30? Why can't there be a distance that it's 25 after that, given that? That's all a school zone. You know what I mean? Like, why, not all schools, but it's all in a school area. Back to the whole discussion we've been having for probably 5 years about the study, why isn't this area? This area seems to me that it's right for a 25-mile-an-hour. So,
are you talking about a actual regulatory change or? And then
But safety down.
I'm right, I'm talking about the speed study that was done before COVID and then with the engineering firm that where there were supposed to be changes all over in areas. And so I understand some of it was done with school zones, some was safety zones, but there was also discussion about just dropping the speed limit. Whatever the proper terminology is.
Yeah, that was the, chapter 24, that basically says that towns can opt into either do the entire town as the thickly settled district. Statutory speed limit would be 25 miles an hour, which Dedham has done, which Newton has done, which Boston has done. Or what a handful of communities have done, which is to do it surgically, road by road, but that requires significant signage to basically say at the beginning of end of each zone saying, it's now a 25-mile-an-hour zone, here. But other towns have done it, and, there are, in my opinion, there are certain roads in this town, like Brookline, like Webster, a handful of other ones over by Broadmeadow, that would benefit from a 25-mile-an-hour safety zone. Now, granted, from an enforcement perspective, townwide doesn't work for Dedham, doesn't work for Newton, doesn't work for Boston, because it's they're not pulling people over all the time and issuing tickets at 26 miles an hour. But there is some credibility about doing certain areas, certain critical streets, to drop the de facto limit to 25. That was one of the suggestions from the GPI study. The GPI study also looked at 10 to 12 high hazard crosswalks, which we did address. And then they also said the utilization of the safety zone, which I believe was only done by Perry Park, was the only one in Needham that was actually so far. Yes, but as a recommendation of that, but just to give that historical context of that. But yes, there is something that we could do to look into.
So does the area by area, does that require speed study? Penetra to lower? Or is that a special carve out?
I don't think it requires a special speed zone.
Right,
I think we just need a regulatory. Saying we're going back to we're going down to 25.
Correct, in these areas, from beginning to end. I think you need to delineate it. You say, from this street to this street on Brookline, it is now 25, and then you have to sign that special signage saying, beginning and end. It's done. I don't know of any town immediately around here that's done the surgical, but if you like Colebrook and like some of these like towns that are further out,
When I'm in
they list it all.
Concord, so in Concord, it's definitely not everywhere, but it's definitely in downtown Concord. So my son goes to school in Concord, so I'm there every day, and in downtown Concord, they've made the center of Concord is 25. You come off the highway, it's not, but then there are definitely pockets where all of a sudden there are clear regulatory signs, and it's not just advisory signs. Because my concern is that if we put up advisory signs to 30 is still fast. I mean, Mark Tree is 30, but there are no schools, so given that Mitchell is a walking district, that's fast.
Yeah, so I think there's kind of the built environment aspect of it, which is trickier.
The what environment?
Like, the sidewalk being close to the road, it's kind of, the topography of the area.
Right.
But
it should this road is narrow, so in some ways it should make the speed, you would think that people would slow down, but
Yeah.
because it's straight.
It's like when you're on the sidewalk at the bottom of the hill
Mhm.
and cars are going, there's like a bit of a curve here, once you get further down.
I'm not exactly sure where we're looking right now. Are we,
Looking
or are we
toward-
just?
Towards the high school.
This is
But
this
are we
is near
just,
where the sign was, the speed radar sign, so if you keep going down the street, Garrison.
So this was collected by the radar signs, right? In stealth mode, or was this done? By
Yes.
So this curve here. People kind of start coming down the hill and then they swing around this curve and then swing around going the other way. And there's portions of the berm that are thinner.
When are they,
basically right there.
when do they do to get the major curves, or are they not?
This on the Melrose side, is that what you're saying?
I know, on the giant, there's the curve on the edge,
Granite,
are they due to get the larger curves there, or are they not?
I mean, the
The-
granite, the vertical
The
granite.
granite, yeah, thank you.
I think that typically the granite is seen at the corners because of the ramps, when we do ramp, well, these are the older style, I believe.
That's what I'm asking, because like some, all over town, the granite curbs are being replaced. So I'm wondering if Brookline's on the docket for that, because that also involves,
So I don't believe it is because, I'm not sure if it's considered part of the walking route. Because that's what we've been doing.
has to be part of the law.
Yeah, so we've been elevating the sidewalk and putting in granite, when we go to, for sidewalk rehabilitation along the school walking routes.
It has to be.
I'm not sure if this is, I can actually check.
So, and Mass General Law 9017C, they talk about thickly settled 30 miles an hour. Cities have opted out to do either townwide, citywide, or define the streets. Concord actually has done townwide, so they're townwide 25, just like Newton has, just like. But they also have speed limits above that, because it's,
Right,
this is only affecting the unposted speed limit, is now instead of 30, it's now 25. Everything else, you know, you can have a 35-mile-an-hour posted regulatory sign, all those are the same, or you can have a 50 or a 20. So anything that's unposted, that's considered thickly settled, which is less than 200 feet apart, you know, structures are 200 feet apart, the vast majority of even is about 90%. That's the speed limit that you can reduce. It's so it's the unposted, thickly settled speed to 25, 30 to 25. Wellesley has not done it. But there are towns such as Hingham, which has done, you know, a full set of streets, Harvard, Duxbury, Danvers, they did street by street. Billerica but a lot have done townwide, Arlington, Bedford, Belmont, Carlisle, Chelsea, Concord.
I mean, I think for us, it makes sense to start with street by street and focus on school districts first.
I agree, and there, that same legislation also then said you can establish safety zones, which also have, which it does the same thing. Oh, that's 20 miles. Well, safety zone is 20 and 25.
Which I think makes sense. It makes sense to
certain areas of
extend, yeah. I think that makes more sense and people will follow it better if it's if it's a sign, that big sign that says 20 miles an hour, it makes you go, oh gosh.
Sure, so I think, well, I would probably say a safety zone we should reserve for, like, let's say outside Perry Park, or let's say outside of because that's gonna be 24/7. A school zone is not 24/7, so if you have a safety zone in front of a school zone, technically at 8 o'clock at night, you have to go 20 miles an hour. And then you can actually legally go 30 miles an hour in front of the school at night. It's because the school zone is only going to be during one kids are in session. And then if you do that afterwards, so I think that by carving out, changing thickly settled, Gus, I know you have experience in this in Brookline, but by changing thickly settled, I think that may, and we do surgically around certain areas around schools, expanding the zone. Webster, because obviously we're not doing a school zone there, we do safety zone there, on the Webster side. I think that might be more a way to carve this, and then we can save that 24-hour, 20-mile-an-hour zone for something that truly is a risk. Because there's also gonna be the fact that a lot of people aren't gonna follow this, and so it's gonna be an enforcement nightmare, but you know what? That's what they get paid pretty well to deal with. So, it's easier when you're not here, I just point in that direction.
Right.
But I think that, I mean, I would let the committee and opine on that.
I'm sorry, what are you proposing?
That we look into opting out in certain roads that we find are, that we want to, you know, reduce the speed in, rather than going a town-wide 25. But we look into taking certain roads and reduce that from 30 to 25, the unposted limit from 30 to 25.
Yeah, so I thought we kind of had made that decision a while ago.
Yeah, it went to, select board a number of years ago, right? So I think they looked at, potentially doing the selected areas, but they're kind of like didn't go anywhere.
Okay,
And, but neither did townwide, but, and then the GPI study came out after that.
okay.
Where the safety zone in front of Perry Park, again.
Yeah, I'm just not totally clear on what is needed to implement it area by area.
Yep.
Because I thought that it would be a similar, because if you could kind of just apply it to wherever you thought it was needed, that would be one thing. I thought there was like study component behind it, or you have to show something.
Well, that was the nature of my question in the beginning, which was, there was a study done. And then when the study was done, and I literally think we've been talking about this for 5 years. So when the study was done, then we talked about that, because this has been a need for a while, and then we keep having these spotty conversations, but it seems like it really makes sense for the speed to be
Yeah.
25. And that when we look at Brookline, to me, is a perfect example, because it doesn't make sense for Brookline to be mandating a speed limit of 30, implementing a speed limit of 30, enforcing a speed limit of 30 doesn't help that area, because that's still too fast, given that it is a huge walking population and its proximity to the high schools. Not only is it for Mitchell, but also for the high school. So I'm just wondering if now, since we're talking about this and we don't know, I think first of all, somebody has to find out where that went with the select board and why it wasn't implemented. Because that seems like a problem. But then now can we take this area and use this as a particular, like, focus on it and say, we did Perry Park, so let's figure out what has to be done here and ideally on Webster at the same time. Because I think we've just been talking about it for a really long time.
Around Broadmeadow, like, so, I mean, what, you guys are the town employees, what do you, and you're the engineer, like, what do you think? You're head of streets and highway, like, what is your thoughts on this?
But we were looking at Webster Street next after doing the traffic calming measures to see what we can, see how it, how people react to it, and then looking into doing a safety zone in that location.
Yeah.
So I think we were taking it one by one, based upon the report that GPI sent, because that was the second location that they indicated. And I can't recall the other ones.
I don't think the street we're talking about was one of the target areas.
Brookline was,
Yeah.
okay, I didn't know the word, I can't,
Yeah,
I couldn't remember.
And so this is one thing that I think we need to, just to Rebecca's point, and then I want to hear from you this, that, you know, I think we need to figure out where it fell through the cracks, and then because I think everyone agrees, and I don't know, we can see what the select board wants, because ultimately it's their decision, because it's a change in regulation. The town-wide, I don't know how good that is. I've talked to folks in other areas, and it's an enforcement nightmare, and et cetera. I don't know if that's the right approach, or whether, you know, of the two, the 20 safety zone or the 25 regulatory change. I think safety zone might be easier from a signage perspective, because it's only just there, and versus I think you have to have special signage that you can purchase because of the chapter 17. And you know, there's a bunch
You have
of.
you have to have the signs at every
And
entrance.
every point, and even the state
Every-
says they would recommend townwide because it's easier to not confuse. That's why we have them at all the borders of Newton and Devon.
Yeah,
But those type of signs would have to be at every street, beginning and end of the zone. I don't know what the right way or approach is, but there are two ways that we can do it, and it's a notification to the state. That's all it is, because this process has been carved out. And I can show you the website.
yeah, I think I'm on the same site that
Got
you have pulled up. It seems that, because it says like you can opt in.
Mhm.
And it says that they prefer the town-wide, and it says, however, cities and towns do have the option to opt in on a street-by-street basis. Once a municipality is opted in, 17C is required to notify MassDOT. It doesn't really say. I guess it says that you have to submit streets to MassDOT, and then they approve those streets. Like on the list, Bill Ricca submitted a list of streets.
Yep.
They opted in for that list. I don't know if it's something where like we can. Like, what is required? Like, do we just say these streets we want to include? Or do they need, speed data? More extensive speed data, I don't know.
Can you find out?
Yeah, is that something you can check into?
Yeah, I'm just letting you know that we won't know until I, do a little bit more research.
And that's fine too, as long as I think we're on the same page that we're trying to for the test.
Yeah, I don't know, but we sounds like if you have a more systemic sort of approach to this, and then everybody can look at it at the same time, not the same time, but they all have go from the same basis. And maybe if we can revisit it also the GPI report. Because this is certainly before I was in the board, so it makes it really worthwhile for us to see and go from the same base point. Because I really don't have that familiarity.
No, that's fine, I'll send the GPI report out, it's on the website. I'll
Yeah, I
send it.
just checked it
There you go.
again and,
It's-
this section of street was not. Identified in the
Got it.
report beyond the fact that it said that in,
Can you also
use
set,
that street light.
can you also set the mass general law?
Yeah, I'll be right after this meeting's over, I'll send.
I don't think the GPI was looking at the 25 mile per hour speed. I think they were just looking at pedestrian safety audits.
Yeah,
So it wasn't going into the 25 mile per hour, it was going into where could safety zones be? And where should, RFPs be installed?
yeah, like high pedestrian.
Yeah, I mean, I thought at one, it was in the narrative saying, either in the intro saying that towns have, and they recommended against the townwide.
The townwide, yeah. that's right.
But I think that was, but yes, they were either doing the surgical approach or the use of safety zones. Is what they call it, I
Right.
think, but
But as far as the street by street, so Bob, do you remember when this was coming
Yeah.
to be? Looking at it, so we started to put together a list of streets. And typically around parks and stuff like that, and we kind of.
Right. I think there's one down near where the pool is too, or there was one proposed down there somewhere.
I think Tony brought this to, I think there was a meeting of multiple boards with the select board and everything was kind of like shot down at the time. But that was, I mean, I didn't hear the whole thing about it, just, so I know Bob did a lot of work.
I'll push it back out. But no, how about this,
Yeah.
going forward, you think it's reasonable by, that we can dig up where we were? And then, we'll make a recommendation to this committee here, whether we need to bring it to the mobility planning and coordinating committee. I know the chair of that committee, so, I have some play with him. And then we can decide whether we're gonna, bring it forward to the select board and talk to Karis about presenting that, or whether we go as a committee. But I think to Rebecca's point, we've been talking about this in just ad hoc since like Steve Delisi was on this committee.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
which is the chair before me. And you're gonna have the grassroots support of this. I mean, certain people will complain, and that the public process will iron that out. But I think that, it's needed right now.
Yes.
And we can't keep. I think we have been talking about this so casually, and it's the same issue. In all these areas, and we're still having issues. And I think we have to escalate it, and we have to have some discipline in
It's one of these,
getting
even,
it done.
even like South Street and High Rock, there are certain areas there, remember we even put, and Bob, you did that might be one of the items you're gonna bring up. You did put the 25 or the 20 mile an hour, advisory signs, but that would be great to have that street as one of those zones, because it's really, shouldn't be driving 30 miles an hour down that street. It's really-
Yeah.
it has no-
So the distinction that I wanna find out, is that when you absent from this. Opt-in program. If you want to change an existing speed regulation. It requires all this speed study and all this other stuff. I don't know if that's like the standard for any of those kinds of change, requests, if there's some sort of difference between that process
And that's,
and this process.
no, that's
So
good.
that's what I'll find out.
That's good to find out. It does say that obviously this doesn't usurp any current posted speed limit. So that's, meaning that if anything's posted, you can't reduce that. You have to go through the process that you're talking about,
Yeah, so of course, they don't list a contact on here.
Yeah, they just call it the traffic engineering. Yeah. It's
But,
our place.
I'll find somebody.
Awesome. Did you want to say something?
Give a general.
No, just-
And that they don't give you the extensions.
Yeah.
of that stuff.
I'll find it.
Just wondering about the point of the hobby, my hobby was traffic calming. And I think that the character of the town is not so much, but they haven't seen it yet. That from experience was the street comes to you. Or let's say the population on the street comes to you and say they want traffic calm. And I haven't seen that yet coming here. It's slowly, yeah, but I know you're right. You know,
Yeah.
it's because I don't think it's mostly residential streets, you don't apply so much, but in more. In a denser area where you will see that, you will probably see that happening more.
Yes, we tried.
So it hasn't happened here so much, at least, that one board.
No, you're right.
But it does tie into that in a way. You know,
That is true, and we are looking into, Webster is gonna have a traffic calming application to it, the curbs are being done now, but it's gonna have speed table. And so there are gonna be, and we tried to do with the Warren with the
Well,
things, but you know, I don't know, yeah. anyways, like that.
but the point is just, we don't have come back to my story again. We don't have an approach, we don't have a systemic approach to if a town or if a street. Or a portion of that population on that street wants traffic calm. What do we do? When does it become active? When we start studying it? So maybe it comes more from your.
And we are, and
planning.
I do want to just, in the interest of time, 7:35, and we have Bob's first item. But what the mobility planning coordinating committee is looking into categorizing all of Needham streets into certain buckets and saying, this bucket will have this type of, it will be eligible for this type of traffic calming. It is a local road, it is a minor collector, it is a major collector. So in actually a categorization, we've already put out for the state technical advisor, whatever
I think it's MAPC.
MAPC.
Technical Systems Permit.
So they're coming up with some technical help for us to be able to categorize and
We're
that
scoping,
would be, but yes, completely,
they're scoping the RFP that we will put out to get,
yes,
to have a consultant do the study.
yes. It's the meeting before the meeting.
So I guess that's the action item is to look further into the, it's worth noting that the original petition was asking for lowering the speed limit to 25. So that's in pursuit.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Did you have a good feel here?
No, because I still don't know what's our time, do we have a timetable? Do we have a goal by next meeting? What are we gonna?
I think the expectation is by next meeting to have a plan that we could bring to the select board, or really for us to approve. That then we could bring to the select board, at one of their future meetings at some point between our second and third meeting.
I mean, I think it'd be really great to say, can we set a goal as a committee to try to have something to discuss with the select board by the September meeting? If that's if they meet in September, is that reasonable, given that it's May?
So are you talking about multiple streets that you're considering?
I'm talking about our approach, and it can either include ideally a list of preliminary streets. So the top priority of streets, an approach, and a timeline for the select board to approve.
I think that's a reasonable goal, and by next meeting, I'll have more information on the process.
And I think especially if a lot of that was done initially, you know what I mean, we're
Yeah.
saying, you know what I mean, at least initially some drive, network drive, there's what was going to go to the select board, that's something to start with. You know what I mean?
So we'll do some research, we'll kind of debrief about what occurred last time and where we can pick up the thread. And I'll look into what the requirements are a little more. We'll have a report for the next week.
Awesome, thank you for that.
Great.
Cover.
Works
Anyone
for
else?
me. Thank you.
All right. Robert,
Okay.
you have,
If I can make one comment about this past item. On when or if the state needs a study to go with that, say, 25-mile zone. And the results of the study are similar to the results I just mentioned to you. Would that affect the state's decision to allow it to happen in the first place?
That's exactly why I mentioned those requirements, because I'm not sure.
But that you'll know by the June meeting.
So that's the question I'll ask.
So we'll have the requirements and the process.
I think
by
that's
the-
an important question, that's all.
and I mean, I get this, and I think that this was put in, and there were so many cities and towns that did this that I don't think they all did. I think it's really,
They just did townwide.
they did town, yes, correct. But, and they didn't have, so MassDOT is not approving it, they're just filing it. It is really the ultimate, you know, and that's what the state, if you look at the actual law itself, not just the thing, it is the town has that right as long as it's not posted.
So it looks like
Right.
some of these communities actually submitted multiple streets, like submitted some streets and then up more later, so.
That would be my, that was my thinking. A preliminary list that even maybe be given our September deadline, if you know the process by June, maybe July and August, if we have to do speed studies, those can be done July and August, so we can go to the select board in September with a package and a bow that they just need to sign off on, and then we can implement it after that meeting. Does that make
Look
sense?
at those
I
streets and
agree.
see what they did for
Okay.
posting
Yeah,
as well.
so I might be able to talk to officials at some of these other communities. and see what they think.
Yeah, awesome.
That would be great, so.
Well, I'm just thinking about public input. We have the street names. That,
Yes,
which should there be public
We
input?
should, yeah, we should let them know.
And no, 100%, and yes, that would be part, I think that could be part of the process to be able to. Either, I mean, the public, when it comes to it, the select board, you know what I mean, that's a public. It's a public meeting, as long as it's announced and ahead of time, and we can certainly do, you know, just to do what Karis has been doing, neighborhood meetings. We can certainly do that, and I'll participate in those neighborhood meetings and let people know this is what it is, but I think the select board process is also part of the public process.
It's also the benefit, I think, of starting around schools, is because the schools and parks, people will generally agree with. Sooner.
Or was it-
Yeah, that's the list that Bob initially put together.
Yeah,
With parks and school areas, yeah.
perfect.
But with all due respect, I think if you want to say. You don't want to have 500 people at the select board meeting.
Mhm.
You'd rather get the meeting here,
Mhm.
or otherwise, you know, you
Right,
don't
we
want
can't
to be
do
the
that.
first one, you know, that's our responsibility, you know, to do some legwork.
Yes, yes, and that's fine,
And
and,
I understand, but you said the point, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so whatever that, I mean, I agree, so whatever that timeline is that we have to do that.
Yep.
I don't, it doesn't, you know, to me, it's
Okay.
fine if we say we know what we have to do by June, it gives us July and August to do the legwork.
Mhm.
And then the select board meeting is in September, but to me, the select board meeting is to get their approval on the process. And the preliminary list of streets, but they shouldn't have to approve every list of streets, will they?
They have to,
They
yeah.
will.
they
Yeah.
would,
So every time we revise the list, it has to go back to the select board.
yes,
Okay.
I mean, it could almost be consent agenda at some point in the future, if we do the meeting.
Mhm.
If we have the neighborhood meeting and everyone agrees and perfectly fine, that this is a street, it can go consent agenda. To get passed through, because there's only one street and it's not, we've already done the due diligence of engaging the public. But they will have to, because it would go in our town bylaws, because.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that's why it's a regulatory change. Yeah, so.
Okay.
But I think, so that's the plan, we'll come back and obviously, you know, to Bob's point, Tyler will figure that out of, the concerns that you brought up, so.
All right, Bob, for hijacking your
Yes.
agenda.
No, all right, I'll try to continue where I am. Next item would be like the Peacedale, Intervale, Valley Road area. We did some studies off of that, and I think I included that in the packet. The Peacedale northbound from Great Plain Avenue speed was around 27 miles per hour. That's coming off the highway or whatever, down Great Plain to Peacedale to cut around the light. Okay. On the other side, Intervale from Great Plain had an 85% speed of 26 miles per hour. And again, the volumes are less than 500 vehicles too. It's not like it's a lot of vehicles going through. I will make a note that in the data, when there was an accident on the highway, the numbers go up fourfold for about an hour or so. So I can see when there's problems on the highway, something happens over in that neighborhood for sure. I will say that. But the speeds still are under 30 going through there on 85%, range.
Like you're
That's-
saying,
What's? I'm sorry, Tom, did they want below, did they want 25? I'm sorry, I don't remember.
I think their biggest thing was the cutting through at rush hour.
Yes.
Going up Peacedale and taking a left towards 128, mainly the night rush hour.
Yeah, so it
I'm
says,
not saying it doesn't happen. It happens, but not as often as they think it happens.
Speed
let's-
was like, everybody thinks cars are speeding on their own.
Exactly, no,
roads
so
all the time.
that, I don't think speed really was an issue, and it's confirmed here.
Okay.
But the cut through Shore, I'm sure that, that was an issue. They
So you talked
initially
to-
suggested, was that?
you've talked to the petitioner.
I have spoken with, not the petitioner, but the person who helped the petitioner,
Right.
your old friend. And I know that he's also spoken to you, John Believe, yeah.
yes,
Yes, so
Right,
the, so we can report the speed based back to this petitioner. But they also were looking at least for some sort of traffic control, either a change of timing at Greendale, Great Plain Ave light. But I think that they were saying if it gets backed up too much, then people are going down, or some sort of, do not enter a certain, certain hours. But that would be everybody, and of course, we want to have everybody engaged in on that, because that would affect everybody who's on that, who's on that road.
so what's our follow-up to them?
If I just, from a
Yeah.
limited recall. The southbound approach on Greendale, the point was, and the point I made was.
Yeah.
That restriping the approach. Because there was a single lane approach.
Yes, yes.
And there was something with that, if we have an idea, if we have some idea about it, if that was possible. Because I think that the breakdown lane didn't extend, in other words, for that right lane, that right turn.
Yeah.
Does that recall anything?
I had to check tape, but I remember there was something to do with lane that you had brought up about whether it needs to be added or
Or that you
dot
can do
dash
something.
line or
is there
something.
enough room?
If there was enough room.
Yeah.
To separate the lane sections.
Because then that keeps the queue from
Yes.
backing up as
Yeah.
far as.
Yeah.
Is that something that we can look into? We can check the tape and see what we,
Yeah, that we have to look into. Again, the room might be the issue, how much, right of way we have in there and where the private world comes into the picture there.
I don't think it's, sorry to mention that, but I believe that the. If I just make sure.
yeah.
See, because.
Yeah.
Sorry. See, there's a,
Oh, yeah, it's a
Is it the driveway?
bike, no.
Yeah, it's the
No,
one
it's-
right at the driveway, Tom.
It's like a double strip, so you have what looks like a.
like a pork chop.
like a shoulder.
And then you have another, yeah, can you?
It's a big shoulder and then there's a small bike lane
Are you able
like
to bring
next
up,
to it.
um,
It's like
The
a-
driveway,
Great Plain and Greendale.
right? It's taking if you take a
Thank
right
you very
here
much.
towards downtown, right? That's on.
Yeah, the guy
Greendale.
has that little house, that little garage, looks like a
Yep,
little house.
yep. Yes,
Yeah, it looked like there was, and we can, he's gonna put this up here, thank you very much. Yeah.
That one.
So you'll see it on street view.
Yeah.
You go to Peter. Yeah, there's, see how there's a double.
Yeah.
So there's the regular lines that come in off here, and then there's a double.
That's the bike lane problem.
So that's reducing even further, whether, I don't know how that was, whether a bike lane or the truck just kept on going and. Yeah,
Can you go down, can you go,
Yeah, that was done with the. TEC, I think they did the,
see how wide that approach is, that right there?
Yes.
At the crosswalk, I don't know, I mean, I don't.
Oh,
think
whether the fog line should be brought into the curb and then you could actually do a right turn only lane
Or something,
or something, I mean, whether.
Why do we do
I
two?
don't know if that's
No,
possible.
TEC did that design, I guess. So it was just straight, I don't know, if you go back to an earlier date, that was not there.
No, yeah.
It
Go
goes
to the
to the-
earlier date.
Yeah,
So just from the sake of, do you want to see if we can look into that for, or for next meeting to see where, where that was and then see.
yeah,
If there is a possibility to maybe do a second lane there, I don't know if it's wide enough, like I said, I know that, we might be, yeah,
well, I thought we looked at that already. But we didn't come up with a written conclusion. I think it was a width issue, but.
okay, and that may be.
Is somebody, who do we know that lives right there at the corner? We know somebody.
Maria lives on the corner. At our building.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not saying something needs to be done, but is there something we can go in and take a look at that?
Wow, that's wild.
Sorry, so what is you're talking about a turn lane on where our view right now?
So it can have a queue to,
It's like a queue storage lane, really.
On
Yeah,
which
essentially, it's, yes, because then,
nobody going towards downtown.
Yeah, that,
Bring down.
that looks very wide from yellow to the workshop to that island, triangle island.
Right.
so you're looking at either a reduction of this,
Left,
a reduction of pulling this in,
yeah,
and then basically creating either a dashed line or something, something like that, that would start to delineate. So people can come this way, a right turn only lane, I guess that would be, and then you could have a straight lane.
That's the green, right now, that's Greendale there, right?
Green, correct.
But
Yes.
I thought the green, it
I
was
think
on,
what's happening is that traffic is backing up far enough that you then take a left into the street, because if you're gonna go take a left,
And they cross through the neighborhood.
and they cut through.
so they're cutting through further back, way
Yeah.
further back.
Oh,
Right
yes,
now.
yes.
Yeah, you'll see, yeah, so,
That's Peaceville.
correct, yeah.
All the way back there.
Yeah, so if we could reduce
Okay, yeah.
here, and then what's happening is people
Right.
are coming in
Oh
and
my
then coming down
goodness.
here.
yeah, so, but the times that we've been out there, Bob, we have not seen.
No, we have not
That-
observed a significant queue out there during peak hours that we are out there.
So are we sending, so when this happens and the data contradicts the petitioner's supposition, right? Do we go back to them and just say, these were our findings, just so that? I mean, it seems like we should go back to them and say, these were our findings, we're still looking at other alternatives that when there is a queue to look to help Greendale flow more smoothly. But we went out this day, these were the numbers, and it doesn't, it actually, while it may feel that way sometimes, the data actually doesn't support
I think
your
there's
hypothesis.
I think there's some issue, like Bob was saying, if there is something happening on 128.
Sometime, yeah, short-term events, may be a problem there.
Oak Street's backed up to my house sometimes when there's a problem places, so that happens everywhere.
So
Right. Right.
I think they cut onto Great Plain Avenue, take a right up Peacedale and go that direction, and then sneak onto Greendale and head up towards. If they go northbound, if they head north. Go off Route 95 and then cut around the traffic light.
Mhm.
I don't know, it just still seems like a. Cut through, why would anyone do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of, but
Right,
Let's go back. And you can circle me in, but let's go back to the petitioner and say, this is what,
yeah,
at some point, we'll align this next meeting between the next meeting and we'll say, this is the data that we've received. And, while we'll try to continue to improve Greendale, because I think we should, what I mean, that's something that's an opportunity, it does get backed up. As far as a further mitigation, the data isn't supporting the evidence there, that was, the anecdotal evidence that you're experiencing.
Now, Bob did say that, he said it goes up 4 times. And you're talking about just on a peak hour, so if you're looking
Yep,
at. how-
just for that 1 hour, then it goes right back to its normal, what is the 1 hour? On Intervale, it goes down to about 37 vehicles in an hour after. And before that, it has roughly, I don't know, 100 and around 80 or so. I'm not 80. Around 90 vehicles going through there at that peak, that one peak day. Because my numbers are based on an average over the entire week of peak hours. But there are some peak hours that are blips, if you will.
Okay.
So that 300, was it 387?
Yeah.
So
That's on, yeah, the P still, right. And the hourly is 40 over the whole week of peak hours. So there might be a peak hour that's 120 and another peak hour that's like 15. So there's an average there. But I made note of there was times when it was very high. And I noted the date and I noted that there was an incident on the highway.
We have the raw data, hour by hour.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Not with, I mean, with me here. I
I'm
had
not
the
saying
raw
that.
data, yes.
Because
Yes,
that I think is more to their experience, if they're just experiencing between 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning and they're getting, 75 cars going through an hour on Peacedale, and yes, during the day, they're getting 10 or, 15,
yeah,
then maybe.
right.
To, either a 1 hour prohibition or whatever, asking, they'll have to go through, everyone in the neighborhood will have to agree on that, but. Be careful what you wish for. There are things that we can do, but, because we did it in front of, Sangeeta.
Can we set up one more time, Bob, and especially in the area, because I think there was an indication that they thought that we were getting the volumes at the ends of the road, but there was a location where they thought the speed was not being captured. If we do that one. You look at me funny, is that correct?
Is that the, I'm just trying to remember the location where the speed would be the issue and the cut through would be the issue. That would be tough.
I wouldn't even be saying right now, speed is even something we want,
It's, I think what they're saying is they want to take, I'm thinking like this. They want for the speed, they'll take out the cut through traffic, just the speed through the neighborhood in general, not necessarily all the cut through stuff. I'm not clear on that. So where I put the counter next, or where the counter will be maybe beyond Intervale, or even maybe on Valley. I don't know.
So how about this? Let's say that we'll do it again. I will talk to the petitioner or the petitioner's advocate. Tomorrow, and I will send an email to Tyler, Tom, and you and say, this is where they suggested.
Okay, yeah, let's do it. Yeah, that makes it easy for everybody, I guess.
We'll take care of that.
Yeah, we're gonna go back to them and say, we're not observing this problem.
Yeah.
We should knock that out of the way prior to.
100%. So I'll find out, because John did tell me a different road location. So I will find that out. We'll take that, we'll do the volume on that, and then we'll make a decision.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
It was like if we had in the wrong location, they will start at a particular point, and then we can reset up again.
Perfect.
As far as the timing, though, the traffic light timing, Bob, you've already observed that it is functioning.
It is correct. It is functioning as designed. And again, my observance is on the queue, on the peak hour queue. Didn't notice anything significant. 1 or 2 cars, 3 cars, maybe.
All right, we'll get some more data and we'll come back to that. Bob, you have the floor again.
Okay. I also sent you, and I think we talked about this last meeting, the diagrams for Webster and Mark Lee crosswalk near Semino Road. What we're doing there, and Tom can back me up a little bit on this, we're moving the crosswalk slightly west, I'm sorry, along Greendale, right? No, along Women, moving, I'm on the wrong street, sorry. Webster and Markley, we're moving it south a little bit off the intersection to help it become more perpendicular to the roadway, the crosswalk, the new crossing.
I see the thing you submitted.
It's a little bit south and not so skew, not so angled.
Yeah, so the only thing with that one is for that to happen this season. We need to figure out, I think that we weren't sure if we had data for like survey and like laying it out.
Yeah, so, right, so I think we just need to go and just make sure that we, everything is in order and not in the way. You guys can have a bill, so we can do it in the field. Or we could, I mean, Bob's presented a concept plan, but I think, Deroma is gonna probably need some more direction,
Yeah,
so,
we actually have one of our surveyors here. Right now. And this sketch for this crosswalk. So this is.
I believe he has seen that sketch. I'm not sure though.
We all
You're picking on me.
yeah, that's the one, we're just wanna make sure there's no driveways, fire hydrants in the way.
So it's only new ramp,
Just over.
because it would go to the apex on the other.
Oh, it was-
It's interesting. If we're able to figure that out and. You know, make sure that there's no conflicts, we would attempt to schedule that work to be done. While the curb and sidewalk contractor is doing the work at
Yes, but the high school, that makes
and that's, they're waiting on that until after school.
Yeah, okay.
But if we wait too long, they won't want to come back for just that location.
Yeah, but that makes sense.
Yes.
Bob?
Yes, I'm here.
No, just sorry, compliment.
Ooh. You're breaking up, I think maybe on my end, sorry.
I just wanted to see if we wanted, so that's good update on the Mark, or the Webster Mark Lee. Is there another one that you wanted to?
Yep. Greendale and Semino. At Greendale near Semino Road, a similar situation. We were thinking of also making it including some sort of bump out for that location, which is going to be, I think, immediately west of Semino Road. I think, I'm not sure. I can't remember.
It is.
And include the signage for that also.
I think
And again, it's like a similar, it helps with the sight distance to move it. It's also, it's the end of the crosswalk wouldn't end up in somebody's driveway. So we kind of got it away from the driveway too.
Yeah, Garrison, can you do street view down there in front of that red roof house?
So we have a project that is under, well, it should be after Memorial Day. We start. It's upgrading the water main on Greendale and then continuing our drainage project that goes all the way to Concord to Burnside. So this area is gonna be ripped up again. So we wanted to wait until we're, after we rip it up, as we're putting it back together, to do that
Okay.
work. So
Potentially as part of the project.
Yeah.
Okay,
Uh,
perfect, yeah.
So where we're looking right now is like basically right where the crosswalk would be towards the bottom of the screen.
Yep.
Obviously, there's, the edge of the cross or the northern terminus of the crosswalk would be kind of in line with this person's lawn, but because there's that screening with the fence and the tree, it shouldn't be as disruptive as some other locations that we've looked at.
So we talked to this one?
No,
Okay, all right.
so, this did spin out of a petition and that person has been.
Got it. This was the one that there was a cross to get over to the school.
the bus.
So that's great.
Yes, and she was, she didn't peg this location, they were looking for something closer to Tower. But then we just determined that this location was safer and, more optimal.
So I'll leave that up to you whether you engage that individual or not.
Yeah, I just think we wanted to have a proposal.
Yeah, no, perfect. I think this looks good, especially bump outs. I think it's, and this is mid-block, so you probably have to have mid-block signage.
Right,
know.
yes, exactly.
Anything else?
Well, there is a few areas in town where we're getting ready. I have to make a request to the highway division to put some sidewalks, I mean, not sidewalk, yeah, crosswalks in at Bancroft, Bond and Falcon area. There's a few up there, and there's also now that it's past winter time on Great Plain and Stockdale for the area where we had the bollards in the middle of the road there.
Yep.
And beyond those, there's still good old Warren Street at Kimball, where we're thinking of placing the radar speed signs. And I think Tyler and Tom will have some info on that. And also perhaps in the future, some kind of crosswalk or bump out with a crosswalk in the area of Kimball and Warren Street. I think that's about it, but again, Tom and Tyler might be able to have more on that.
Yeah, so, the never ending back and forth with. The Warren Street folks.
Mhm.
Still going on?
So going on, we have a good Samaritan, Brian Antonio, who's a resident that's been helping me talk to residents, get a temperature on what is acceptable for them, an acceptable outcome. What we have landed on as the most immediate thing we can do is speed feedback signs placed. The proposed places that Bob has helped us spot are, you can zoom in a little bit, Garrison. Basically, there's a property right there, Kimball Street and Warren Street. Their side yard has a fence that's been newly installed. You can see it right there. Southbound speed feedback sign would go there, right along that fence. And then the northbound side sign would be installed a little bit south of this location. Between was it 268 and 272, Bob? I'm trying to remember.
Yes.
Brown.
I myself cannot see the diagram, but that's okay.
So that brown roof house and the gray house, 268 there, right where that cursor is where the northbound sign is proposed. The original petitioner, Brian, Mr. Antonio has talked to, I believe, 2 out of these 3 abutters, the one in the corner and 268, and he's following up with the guy at 272 who had previously told him that he was interested in some sort of traffic calming idea. We don't, it's going to be, it would be positioned between these 2 houses right by that bushy area there, so it should be minimal impact. To those residences, so. That's the kind of thing we can do, that seems like that would have some benefit that people can, live with. That's that thing. There was also, though, the request that's been up in the air about. Some traffic calming, change to this intersection here with Kimball and Warren. What Bob has drawn up at our request was a slight. Curb extension bump out, going from, supporting a crosswalk going across Warren. Starting from that white fence and going across
Yeah.
to the other side. So there would be, it's not a big bump out, because the widths are already a little narrow. But it would provide a little bit of a pinch point to slow speeds in the upper part of this corridor. I've talked to the petitioner and I told him that this is not something that would be happening this summer. It's something that we would probably be looking to install it, do a temporary like bollards or cones or a barrier to model how it would look next spring, with the intention of trying to tie in curb extensions at this location with other ramp upgrades that'll be required in advance of the paving in the northern section of Warren up to Kingsbury Street on the other side of Dedham Avenue. So, we're always looking to kind of co-locate work, because otherwise we can't call in our contractors just to do one intersection, or, unless it's a major intersection. So he understands that, he's okay with that. But in the meantime, we're gonna have the signs. One thing to note is that if that curb extension goes in, those bump outs there, we would want to move the speed feedback sign going southbound, because it'll be in close proximity to the.
Yes.
So there won't be any, it won't capture speeding.
Yeah.
So. The thought is, we can do it here for now with the potential to move it a little bit further north up the street.
Right.
And that's the report.
All right. Is there anyone else have any other, because I know that there was, Rebecca, you had mentioned.
The bump out is gonna be on, on Warren Street?
On either side, right where we're looking here, on either side of
What
the,
about like traffic turning onto Warren Street? You actually force them a little on the, let's see, like landscaping with the trailer following, you're actually forcing them off further onto the wrong side of the road to make a turn. If you're coming like with every pickup truck is.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you take a right turn.
Are you saying, on the other side of the intersection too? Or what are you? You saying there's a problem, or we want to install something else?
Well, I was just,
By the truck turning radius.
yeah, you see what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think Bob has looked at this intersection a couple times. What do you think about that?
Do we put the template up on the turning?
I haven't done the template with the little bump out. As of yet, I have not done that.
Well, if you want to have a. we can take a look at that.
Okay, so just for the record, though, I just wanna say again. And really to emphasize the point that Gus has made many times. There needs to be a process, so. Because the Warren community has come and they are invested in this and we're looking at alternatives, that's great, but there are a lot of streets that would benefit from this. And potentially more than Warren. So I just want to know, what is going to be our process moving forward? Because, every street that's like Manning right now, Manning is so fast, people travel really fast on Manning, it's no different than Warren as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what the situation is with Warren and Kimball specifically relative to other intersections. Manning doesn't have a yellow stripe down the middle, but would benefit from it and it would change the way people drive down. So I just feel like we need a process. And so when people come to us and say, we need traffic calming, speeds are too fast on my street, but they don't want the, less expensive traffic calming, who qualifies for the things that are more expensive when we have dollars that we have to pay?
That's
I
just,
do before we say yes, because we feel like this street is responding in a certain way versus another street who isn't. So if we don't make a lot of noise, we get paint. If we make a lot of noise, we get bump outs in infrastructure. And I think that's really important.
I think it's part of the mobility.
Yeah,
plan.
that's a street categorization project.
Yeah,
So do we hold on that?
So, I mean, this one, I think there still should go forward. We shouldn't wait, because I think that by waiting. And traffic calming is coming up from bottom up and top down, both, we're
So
doing Webster
moving-
Street, we're doing top down.
So moving forward, though, this is essentially an exception, and moving
Correct.
forward, we wait for these because there has to be proper.
This
fire
appears to
mitigation.
be the only traffic calming that's coming bottom up.
This has been in the queue before the mobility.
Yeah.
So I think we've
Yeah.
we've
And-
touched
Okay.
it.
Like
The
I
other
said, I
traffic
just
calming-
I think it's important to say it out loud.
Yeah.
And it's important for it to be on the record,
No,
and I think it's
yeah.
important that we have a process, because I don't think if this has come about, this is not how this should work moving
I-
forward.
Completely agree with you
Okay.
on that, and that's on the table, and I agree with you. And that's one of the points that we wanted to come up with. A standardization for how we look at roads, how we look at what traffic calming is eligible, but at some point, that's still gonna have to be top down based on what we believe the risk is, and we will pick certain areas that have higher traffic, like Manning, we all know the area. It will go from top down, and then it won't be this bottom up.
Yeah.
Process.
And how we pilot.
And then, yeah, and then, we'll pilot, exactly, and say a local road will get X, Y, and Z treatments, or is eligible for X, Y, and Z treatments. And if we do those treatments, we can do a pilot of this, we can do a paint pilot, that's the first one that goes through. Or we do bullets, or we do whatever it may be, because obviously all of this is gonna cost. Or another thing too, if we can get somebody else to pay for it. Eversource came through and is gonna do something, and then, we can have them or piggyback on top, that may be
Yeah.
prioritized, because obviously when it comes down to it, it is gonna be, cost being a driver, so. Grants that are out there to do something that's gonna help, in that queue, but nonetheless, that's what that mobility planning coordinating committee is doing.
Yeah, I think, in the time in between when that program will be built out. We're still responding to petitions, we're still kind of diagnosing, we're still kind of. We went with the paint was kind of our first crack at it. That didn't turn out well. We're looking for other strategies. This seems though.
And there's also these people.
Right,
They worked on High Rock. And
Right, I didn't mean to say that the technique was the problem as
Yeah.
much as it was the process and the
Correct.
consent and.
well, but the point is that paint has worked in a lot of other areas, and it's also a really great way to sample permanent structures. It's a nice interim step, so
Yep.
even, was it, what's the, oh, gosh, Charles River?
Yeah, we'll be down by the triangle there,
No, what's the one you go, where's like Standish, that area? Not Standish.
Stockdale?
Stop, no, where you go, so, down central, past the recycling station, left, and then left before the light, where there's Countrywide.
Oh, right, we did that.
Yeah.
That.
Right.
Yes, yeah, and this is also one of the things that was brought up to them is what is how we then operationalize. Learn from Warren, and we learned from Countryway,
Mhm.
that, because I don't think we did engagement beforehand, you know what I mean? And, we got slapped for that. The double yellow line, that's on me. I pushed it because I was like, it's safe. And I will always be safe. And then somebody quoted, pulled out some real estate something and made up stuff to me. I mean, that's fine. I don't think it's really true. Every broker I've talked to
Mhm.
says that it's not true, but whatever, that's fine. I can't nullify their experience when they come up and they're upset. But nonetheless, they said their property values are gonna go down. It's their comps that potentially could be changed, but other than that, that's the only thing. But then we got slapped for that. Countryway, we did it, or you guys had done it, we were aware of it, and then the select board was, was called. Honestly, it's the same thing that was done when we, Sunita Williams, we as a committee said, no, some of those were not Jarvis, but it was where we have the do not enter during certain periods of time. That was brought to us. We said, I remember Tony was,
Follow.
which one was it?
That's allowed.
So follow.
Stuff, yeah. Oh, the
Yep.
Safalo was different. the other side. But we had said, no, let's wait for, because it was supposed to be like an apocalyptic traffic issue. And, obviously it didn't pan out, but we said, let's see if there is an issue. Actually, or, it was when the other lieutenant. Or,
Yeah.
Kramer.
And we had said, I remember having this conversation and we had said, let's see if there is an issue. But then there was a resident who immediately hit the panic button, called the select board, and suddenly there was a parking prohibition, completely over. So the reality is people are gonna seek a political solution if in fact we don't necessarily engage, and that's fine. If we do everything that we wanna do it right and somebody wants to go around, there's always gonna be a way to circumvent us, and that's fine. But we need to do it right. So we need, part of this committee is to say that if we're going to
Be a way
do.
to circumvent us. The select board is, I think,
And I
more
think-
committed to.
Now,
Not
was
doing
that,
that, yes.
agreed.
Okay.
I agree with the select board would definitely consult more, rather than just make the decision. But part of this committee is to also say that, and we've talked about this, what communication strategies are we going to do when we decide to do mitigation? Now, if we're going to do initially, if we were gonna do no treatments on a road, and it wasn't affecting anybody, then the town certainly can probably do something. And if it obviously, we're gonna change a road to a one-way, that's obviously gonna have significant impact on those residents. We need to engage them, we need to have, abutters and all that stuff needs to be in the paper, it needs to be a legal notice. Because I think that's significant enough. But if we're just doing something from a traffic calming perspective, we should do the, door knocking thing and whatever, and have a neighborhood meeting and engaging. And that's what we've been doing. We did it for the speed tables, we did it for a couple other things we've done that seemed to have positive feedback. So I think. I'll take the heat on a couple of those things that we didn't engage the public, because I'm a safety officer for a private company. So whatever I say goes. I have that thing of like, I'm doing this in the best interest of safety. It doesn't matter about, I don't need to have these public engagement, but obviously in the municipal process where people live, I get it, we need to kind of do better. And so I think we have come up with some strategies that if we're going to make some changes, we need to engage the public there. So, but that's part of that thing, is what treatments are available.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I've been working with the petitioner, and he's been actually talking to people himself, and that's been very helpful. I'm still going to follow up and talk to him as well, but it's him kind of taking the temperature of, so that we don't waste our time developing strategies that people are not gonna go for.
And we've changed some things based on some feedback, which is great, you know what I mean, and whatever, moving things, but, so, I think, but yeah, this will.
Okay.
Anything?
That's it. That's all I had on this. That was it for me.
Well, we have one other thing, one thing I wanted to ask about is the status of West and Hillside and. the
I think
four-way-
Tom Ryder has some info on that.
Yeah, that's on me. Bob has drafted a regulation that I was gonna present to select board. And I wanted to make sure Karis was there at the time, so I think she was not able to attend a couple, but it's gonna be coming up. So there's a forward stop I'm talking about. Yeah. And I just wanted to make sure that Bob and I got together to make sure that I had everything down as far as, because I know the questions are gonna come up about on the hillside and the queuing lanes.
Yes.
Because.
If there's ever, sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but if there's a time when you're going for the select board and it would be helpful for any of us to be there as additional support, let us know.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm happy to do
More than
that.
glad to, so you can say the TSC was involved, or whatever. I've done that with Karis, actually. We went in front of it.
Yeah.
When we-
So-
And I'm super happy to show up. So especially for some of these important ones where they're not necessarily, they haven't been part of these other conversations. It would be my pleasure. So when you're gonna be doing it, just send an email.
All right. So probably not this select board, but the one after. We'll probably do that one.
I'll find out.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Bob has drafted the regs.
Perfect.
Yes.
So that.
We
Yes.
do the so that they understand.
Perfect.
Okay. Literally every time I'm walking or driving through that, it just.
Yeah.
I think we'll need
So
to,
often.
use two of the new tabs. Maybe, if we have one that we had on that no turn on red, which by the way, I've received a lot of compliments on it. I know we took that down, but, at least the new tabs on the sides.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
right below the next sign, just to kind of
Yep.
also guide. I know
Stop signs with new tabs. Yep.
I'm gonna run one of those trails. Say, you know, new traffic configuration, that sort of stuff to,
Yep.
for the public.
One thing I wanted to ask about, the Gould at Kearney intersection, I think last we talked about this, we were,
That's the daycare.
the
center?
daycare center. So. Before I go talk to this daycare, or before we go talk to this daycare. Can we just discuss again the conflict and what needs to happen to make our proposal work?
Like on Gould Street, cars parked, 2 or 3 of them parked every day. Right. Right at the school, and it's, yeah, right there. So if you were coming out Kearney, I mean, it's a sightline issue, you might have the stop signs there, but you still have to like hinge out because. There's not a good sightline, oh, there's one there.
I think it was also asking them to remove that tree, wasn't it?
What's that?
Wait, weren't we also asking them to remove the tree that's right in the corner?
Yeah, that was discussed also.
I don't know if that was part of the proposal that was drawn up, but,
Yeah, there was a sketch that was drawn up, right? I remember there was-
Yes,
There was a-
yes.
Yeah, I think that the tree was a massive issue for visibility, so I think there was also, you know,
so cars are parking,
And it's legal right now, it's legal, they can park there,
yeah.
but I'm saying. They take, well, I remember the petition came and said there's like, you know, problem, you know, we should have a stop sign here. And trying to get out, and like I say, these cars that are parked there are creating a sightline issue.
yeah, I think it was stop line, stop sign.
Right.
Like a clear stop sign, stop line, and then talking to them about also telling their parents not to park, telling parents not to park there. And discussing either cutting back the tree or taking down the tree. If I remember correctly, those were the items, so it was stop sign, stop line, but the stop sign wouldn't affect them anyway, 'cause it's on the other side,
Right,
right?
right.
Right. Stop sign would affect them. So the things that affect them are asking parents not to park there, because that causes a problem. And talking to them about options around the tree, because it's a visibility problem.
Okay,
That's my recollection, but I do think there was a drawing.
Yes.
I have the drawing in front of me.
Okay.
It shows a stop bar. With a proposed stop sign location, and it shows yellow hatching coming around the tree area.
Oh, so narrowing of that, that's what it was.
Yes.
It was.
We narrowed the pavement down. Well, you know, artificially narrowed the pavement down.
Opposed to kind of, you know, a bearing right, which ends up kind of going on right now. It
Yeah,
would make
so
them
that's-
slow down more than a hard right.
So it's paint there though, right?
Yes,
Yeah. That makes sense. And then, but I still think there's the paring back of the tree if they're able to.
Okay, so I'm happy to go talk to him. I just wanted to make sure we were all on the same page with this plan, and that's what the conflict was.
I think
What's WE?
And then was there gonna be a stop sign? There was at the end of that, right?
yes.
And then do we need to stop because I know the stop sign is so far to the right because of the distance. Do we need a stop sign across the street? Like we
That's
do
what was
before?
proposed.
I would say yes. In that case,
That telephone pole just to kind of be a secondary stop sign.
yes. That would, yes.
Bob, regulation. This stuff.
Oh, I lost you. Sorry, Tom.
We have a Regulation for the stop? Already?
I think so. I'll double check that.
We went here to do a river.
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine, yeah.
Okay, in the meantime, I'll talk to the daycare.
Perfect. Awesome.
And the petitioner that was on the agenda today has not shown up.
Yeah, so I think it would just it'd be us just having some budget talks, I think was
Yes.
If you, I'm gonna raise my hand here. If it's okay with you guys, I think I gotta sign off. At this
Okay.
time, hopefully that's okay. All right. Okay, I'll see you guys.
Thank you.
No problem.
pulling up the thing here, but we can go to the next item. And here, which you said the petitioner didn't show up. Thank you very much for that. Community discussion, or no, yeah, community discussion, TSC budget and potential expense items. And then a vice chair. So Tyler, you wanna?
Yeah, so for those of you that were not here for the meeting that we first just talked about. Some of this stuff. TSC and TMAC in the past has gotten an annual $50,000 allocation to be used on signage, crosswalks, other improvements that are related to either related to a specific petition or related generally to areas that the committee considers important for improving traffic safety. We currently have a balance of a little over $44,000 from our last allocation. So we have nearly the full allocation from the last fiscal year, which was 50,000. And we just got approved at town meeting for a new allocation for 100,000. We requested the annual request or the annual allocation. You know, we have to ask for it each time, but we requested for it to be doubled so that we could afford some of the more costly RFBs are getting more expensive, and we're getting more requests for them. Some of the curb work is stuff that, you know, if we just had the 50, we could only do, you know, 1, 2, 3 areas, and then we'd be done for our allocation for the year. So we asked for that budget to be increased, and we'll be have access to that money on when the new fiscal year starts in July. In the meantime, I have some proposed items, some of which have been discussed in this meeting and the previous meetings, some of which I can give people a refresher on. The way that this is estimated, and I put this in the packet, not all of these items could be funded with our current allocation, but once we have the extra money on July 1, we could afford everything and more. The first item was discussed earlier, the realignment of the curb cut, or not realignment, but the installation of a new ramp to allow for the crosswalk to be installed across Webster at Mark Lee. That work is estimated around $15,000. And then highway or DPW would be covering other ramp upgrades at that intersection on all the other approaches. So that we talked about. The second is a RFB at the George Agate crosswalk. That's something that we've discussed, and we had a neighborhood meeting for that a month or two ago. We have put in, we're proposing a solar RFB, but with the understanding that there may be some foliage that needs to be cut back. But we think that the button will not be used heavily, so there won't be a high energy expenditure, so we should be able to use the solar and be fine. But as a contingency, we've with the work going on down there, we've brought the connection for a wired connection if need be. The solar RFB equipment is $16,000, that's yesterday. The second solar sign that's on this list is not the full, like, black pole heavy duty RFB like they have in front of the high school. These ones are on regular square signposts that we use for all of our traffic signage. And it's essentially a flashing, so there's a diamond crosswalk sign with flashing lights around the perimeter of the diamond with a push button activation. Those are $8,700. The location in question is the one near the Rosemary Recreation Complex. There's a crosswalk there. The existing sign, flashing crosswalk sign that we have there was failing because the vibrations from the train would interfere with the circuitry and they were losing connection, so it was failing a lot. We're able to repurpose that sign at another location, but the one that we're proposing to purchase would be more reliable, would not have that problem. And it's to protect a crosswalk near a high pedestrian activity zone. It's right between the library and the pool. So that's that item. Jersey barriers, we've had requests through TSC for similar to what we did at Maple by Camellas, the protecting crosswalks with Jersey barriers, either as a semi-permanent solution or as a pilot to model protected crosswalk elements in the future. So one that was recently requested that this would address is the crossing of Great Plain Avenue near Pickering Street near Greensfield. The petitioner told us that they would like some protection there because there's a lot of activity, especially when during the times when the field's being used and cars are sometimes even making a U-turn in Pickering, coming across, going back the other way on Great Plain. So this would prevent that. We did not put them out up until this point because they interfere with snow clearing operations. But now that we're well out of the season, we're looking to the highway division is looking to purchase those. So we're purchasing Jersey barriers for Park and Rec for the DeFazio parking lot anyway. With that order, we included 3 pairs of barriers for highway division use, TSC use, because TSC would probably be the vehicle through which a lot of these requests would be made. We're asking for that to be considered for funding as well. So each barrier is just about $500, which would make 3 pairs about a little under $3,000. The final item is additional portable speed radars, like the ones we've just purchased that we've been using to conduct these spot speed studies, which have been really helpful because we're kind of using that to head off. You know, my street is really fast, my street's really fast. We don't have recent data. We can go out there and collect data within a few weeks. This item is at the end of the list because I think that it's the least urgent and could be funded from the new allocation once we get more funding over the summer. Does anybody have any questions about any of this?
See, the first four items are you saying funding out of what is currently fiscal year 20?
Correct.
Four, right, okay,
Yeah.
So my only thought, I mean, I think these all seem reasonable. But I feel like the Jersey barriers, and we can use Jersey barriers in a lot of places. So I feel like if we're gonna buy 3, they come out of our budget, then they should go directly to our causes, and they should go right to crosswalks that could use them.
Yep, so one of those would be marked for the Pickering location.
Yeah,
If they're, we would hold them, but they would be for TSC, like we wouldn't use them for our own.
Okay.
Like, one of the reasons why Park and Rec is asked us to help them purchase more barriers is because the ones that are out now were pulled from the DeFazio parking lot.
It will park.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're purchasing more to replace those, but. You know, we can't keep doing that. We
Yeah.
need to have a couple of our own. So that's why this is
But
proposed.
they're allowing the ones that are out there to stay out.
Right.
So what about, so I mean, as far as, I think these are fine, and it seems the portable speed radar things make sense, I don't know how many we need, but. The question I have is more, how do we, with this additional funding, you know, I have no concept of how much things cost for you to do, no clue. And it's okay, I don't need to know right now. But my question is more like, so where we have Jersey barriers, where we've had pilots. You know, rather than having pilots last for, you know, our lifetimes. Can we have a path and a budget for some of those pilots to move into more. You know, permanent structures, especially in the town center. So my two primary areas of concern are Maple. And I think that was Linden, right?
It was the one, since the single Jersey barrier.
Yeah.
They lived in
Cause
it.
that one's a mess. There are wires there, there's a telephone pole there, the visibility there is just horrific. The
Yeah,
drivers, everybody, and it's constantly flashing, so you don't know, and you can't see when it's flashing if there's somebody in the crosswalk until you get close enough to see if there's somebody there waiting.
is that end of it,
That's part of
included in our scope?
That's in our scope, so you'll be happy to know, we've selected our downtown streetscape.
For the Great Plain, corridor from, it's Warren to.
Pickering, I think.
It's Warren, yeah, too, it's actually starts at Warren, yeah.
And then all the way down to,
Maple.
I thought it was Linden.
I thought initially it was Linden too.
Yeah, so that entire corridor is going to be redesigned, as part of basically this major downtown, project.
When?
So we're scoping the design now for the design contract. The plan is to have a pilot in place for proposed changes next year, next spring. And that will model what the design comes up with in terms of traffic calming elements. It'll model any changes to the lane widths,
Multimodal.
yeah, so. Once that is all hashed out. And these, where the barriers are now will play into kind of their thinking about. Is this working well? Is this, you know, a problem point that we could address through other means? Those will come out.
Yeah, so the question is, when will this project be done? So when will it be implemented and when will it be done? Just for my,
Design will go through next year because the pilot will inform the final stages of design. So that'll take us into like next summer. So probably the project will actually be constructed in 2026.
the 2 years.
Yeah,
If you remember, we did design, the town did look
Yeah,
at design
yeah,
and.
and then
And
the
then they
traffic,
stopped it
Yeah.
because of,
because it was a mess.
it was a mess, they
Yeah.
had people terminate bikes and walk in,
Yeah.
it wasn't multimodal, it was just done for high throughput.
Yeah.
So, and then, yeah, and then they said the bulk of the cost of phase one was all underground vaults and utilities, so it was less. So that we're paying a little bit double, but, so they finally got another vendor in if you want, I know there's gonna be public input, and committee inputs. I'll let you know, what-
there will be lots of public meetings.
yes,
lots of-
and committee.
If you go to the town, if you go to the website, you probably can see in the select board meetings, what happened in March, was it?
I think it was March, yeah.
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 I'll send you all the.
They sent that we did a process where there were multiple consultants that are on-call consultants that submitted proposals for vision. Which weren't design documents, but they were a
Think
generalized.
outside the box. kind of thing.
Yeah, and the one that we picked was kind of the most bold change. But what form those changes will take and how they get ultimately designed on paper will be the result of that, lots of public feedback from both the pilot and through surveys, talking to going through the local businesses, there'll be a lot of gap, we basically are. One of their biggest pieces of that of that design responsibility is the public engagement.
Okay. So, that sounds great. That's good to know. If my only request, sort of as a sidebar, is if there's a way to deal with the massive wires and the chaos by that barrier, if there's some other way for DPW to deal with that in the meantime, because Linden, because 2 years is a long time.
So so that pole is being changed, so, and it has to be done in a certain order. So right now, Eversource has been out and changed the electricity, that's on the new pole.
Okay,
There is still cable, phone, and other utilities that are on the old pole that need to change over. And I think that, they're gonna have to remove the old pole. There still is the new
it's
pole.
just a huge visibility
Yeah,
issue.
no,
So I understand like the complexity and having all the different parties involved, but the visibility is really bad.
And that's-
Yes, there is the visibility, yes.
Okay.
But
There wasn't.
And so my only other, so that's great to know that does, we don't have to budget for that. So do we need budget for like signage in general, or do we not need to address that now? Extra signage, last minute signage in the town, like when.
We did the flash and one recently.
Are you talking about location specific, are you talking generally?
In general, does there need to be a line item for sign, just the,
Putting in the closet if they end up.
Yeah, so basic signage, like the, crosswalk signage, like that is not electronic, that's all stuff that we have in storage. When we're talking about more. Custom elements, then it's easy for us to order those. The signs are not so much a problem. It's really when we start talking about push button activations, those become. Real expenses and a little bit more of a. Construction.
I'm not sure the push buttons, like the one at Rosemary you're talking about.
So the one without, like the one on the regular.
Not the
sign
RRB, right, the one with, the one.
Yeah,
that's
so
on-
it's like 9,000,
Just, okay.
yeah.
Cause I was like even saying for that for Linden, because one of the things is, that because that just blinks all the time. It's almost like it's not there anymore, and it's like, but I didn't realize, so it's
Well,
not,
it's a Paris.
okay,
Yeah,
still. Okay.
the radar, the portable radar that you said is for temporary, is that for studying or for like warning, like showing, you know what I mean? Is
Both.
it- Oh,
It could be used for either.
Cause the only thing with, I mean. I find it works, flashing, I mean, most people, I would think, definitely hit the brakes, that you're sending a message. But that's also gonna. As opposed to, the current way of surveying, in other words, what I'm trying to say is, you're not giving somebody a warning, what I'm trying to say, I don't know how true it would be. Let's say there was no signage there, and somebody says, yeah, they're flying down here at 40 miles an hour. And you put one of those up, you're also giving them like a heads up that you want them slowing down, so it's not giving you a really true.
So there is a stealth mode, so it does where it'll be up there and it's gonna record all the data, but it's not gonna do any feedback.
Okay,
Which is great, because then you can say, I'm gonna put it up for 2 weeks. First week will be stealth mode, so we're actually gonna see. all
okay,
the
all right, that's what I meant.
And then we can actually see where if we put it on, and then you're actually gonna.
Exactly, all right, you see what I'm saying, though.
Oh, no, 100%, yeah, because they're gonna, that's gonna speed the results. But
Yeah,
that's-
so
The
they're,
stealth mode is really cool.
so they're battery powered, so they're not meant to stay out for more than like 2 weeks. Once we have, backup batteries so that we don't have to like wait for them to charge or anything, but we just switch out the new batteries.
Sure.
So they're meant for temporary collection, but while the feedback is on, they have a secondary. Function for, for feedback.
One more.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Funding of that, is the town paying for the design and the state pays for the construction?
For which project?
They pay now. But we just talked about-
So currently, so the state is not involved beyond, we're using chapter 9 funding.
Oh, okay.
For the design, and so we have approximately. $7.5 million in chapter 90 funding that we've been banking. a lot of that, a lot of that money will be expended from, for this project. We will also have to stack other funding sources, local sources approved by town meeting, grants that we can apply for, both at the federal and state level. But that's gonna come more into in the construction phase. For the design, we should be able to cover it through existing allocations of chapter 90. So there's no local funding allocated for it. We're using monies we already have.
Okay.
And then we'll get more chapter 90 allocation as well.
Mhm.
We have to actually, the state kind of has requested that we show we're spending the money down. So that they can continue to give us funding, because the funding is based on formula, for your lane miles.
Okay,
Intent.
Sure. thanks.
So there has to be a little, yeah. So thank you for that. The last item on the agenda is a committee discussion on the vice chair position. So
So I'm sorry, did we approve any of this?
so you were looking for improvement.
Yeah, cause like I'm ready to move forward on them, but I don't, I need your.
I'm okay, with that. I would make a motion to approve.
So I'm proposing that, maybe it's a motion, maybe it isn't. I'm proposing that all the items apart from the portables.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Funded out of existing
And then we'll get.
allocation, and then the portables we can look at in July.
I would like to make a motion to approve those 4 items.
First order, okay, yep, and we'll wait for the, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Gus, any discussion? Hearing none, we go to a vote, all in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Aye, any opposed, any abstentions, the motion carries.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, all right,
Can I step back to the one that the person did not attend?
yes,
Oh. So that's for the
The lamp
Wellesley, yeah, so that side, that crossover between Wellesley. I didn't,
oh, right, yes,
Yeah.
correct,
yeah, so I reached out to Wellesley. And they have a traffic committee as
Yeah.
well,
okay,
so they're interested in talking.
sure,
If we have any improvements in the area. I haven't really specifically talked about any improvements, because
Okay.
all those streets combined is a very dangerous.
yes, yes,
Intersection.
and I know this is this new, this committee, or is this committee, the working with us is new? Because I know that historically this has been.
Yeah,
Damn
I
it.
talked to George Saraceno, who's the assistant town engineer in Wellesley.
That's fine, yeah,
So,
okay.
so he asked me to send him an email and say,
Perfect.
ask him to be on the agenda, so.
That has been a hot topic for a very long time in this committee, so, at the end of Honeywell, right, in Wellesley.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I even know that there was somebody who put a Needham sign up, and technically, Wellesley, the white sign that says left turn only lane, I know that was in darkness, that was, a little stealthily put up.
Yeah,
So I drive that route every single day, and the biggest holdup are people turning right from Wellesley Ave onto Honeywell. That's the biggest problem in the morning, is people turning right. Yeah, trying to make that hairpin turn.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. Literally every morning, that's my route, and it's always, whenever there's a backup, it's because someone's waiting to turn right. And they have the right of way, but Honeywell's, I'm on Honeywell, and Honeywell stops because there's a stop sign.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but they can't make that right turn until whoever's at the 2 cars at the stop sign move.
Yeah.
And it doesn't say no right turn.
Right, so yes, I think we welcome I'm glad that has worked. I know that there has
Yeah.
been, I know Needham funded something, or was talking about funding something, and then funding fell through on Wellesley and some nothing. Because even when you come down the other way, there's a stop bar.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have a stop sign, it's just a stop bar, which you can't have a stop bar with a sign. And then that confuses people, because it's like, I know why it's there, no intent to say, this is, if you're gonna take a left, this is where you should stop. But it's not a regulatory stop, and so it confuses people, because you can actually technically just go straight through if no one's coming that direction. Maybe you should stop now, and we should put in something, but that there definitely is room for doing something in that area, and that's great news to hear that, Wellesley's, interested in doing something.
So there's a good chance that the petitioner will want to attend next meeting, so we can.
That's fine.
we'll
Yeah.
have
That's perfect. It's
So
great.
meanwhile, I can reach out to them, I can just introduce myself to
Yeah.
them and then say that we're interested in talking, if they're interested in talking, but we do need both towns together.
Yeah, and
to
if
start
there's
something.
traffic committee wants
Yeah,
to
and the
meet with our
petitioner,
traffic committee.
and the petitioner does know that that's the case, that
Okay.
the town is there.
Perfect, I would welcome, to have a, just, to meet and greet with them and figure out some solutions. So, last item on the agenda, vice chair. It doesn't matter how this goes, but, I've been elected to planning board for 5 years, and I started that. There's significant amount of work for the Needham Planning Board over the next several years, large house study, et cetera, et cetera. There's gonna be a lot of work. I may not be able to be as active. I still want to remain part of this committee, but I don't know. I may want to step back a little bit and just be more either a member, or I would stay on to, vice chair or vice versa. We can kind of work that out. But that would involve, another member of the committee to, wants to, step up a little bit and, perhaps take the reins and I would be there to kind of, help to support until we figure out how I can, step back into a, more passive role. So I don't think a vote needs to be done tonight, but if you want to think about it, you want to talk about it, give me a call during the next, month, and then we can have, nominations and votes, next meeting, and I can put that out for people who aren't here. I think anyone who's a member can be, doesn't need to be a citizen member, but that does open up if you wanted to. If not, I think it always historically has been citizen members, but I don't think we don't have any bylaws that say that's the way it needs to be. But
I think that's probably best.
yeah, optic wise, it's probably that if you have one of the citizens. But so I just wanted to put that out there. Like I said, if you want to talk now, but in the middle of the month, whatever it may be.
So I'm happy to be, so what I've said to Justin, I'm happy to be a vice chair. We've not talked about, I'm not willing to step into a chair position. I'm happy to be a vice chair and do more to facilitate personally.
Mhm.
But as I said to Justin, I feel I don't have the knowledge that Justin has, so I would be heavily dependent on all of you for the knowledge. And then I also, from a structural standpoint, just all of the stuff you say, at the beginning of the meeting and all that, whatever is required. And yours. So again, I would then be more dependent on, so in terms of running the meeting, I feel very comfortable doing that. In terms of the knowledge, I don't have that in the way that all of you do, certainly Gus and all of you, it would be critical, so I would sort of, that would be my only thought. So structurally, and I feel like you've been on this committee, as long as I've been on this committee, you've been here, and your knowledge has always been paramount, even before you were chair.
Mhm.
So as far as I'm concerned, you can't go anywhere.
No, and I don't intend to. I think I'm just, I'm trying to save,
Yeah.
I balance my
Right.
civic engagement, my marriage.
Yeah.
My wife is like, why do you know what you do? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, the other way around. But no, and I would still be involved. I know there's 2 meetings already this year that I will not be able to attend because they're federal planning board meetings. We just did the schedule last night, and the meetings are, because they're all have to do with the MBTA Communities Act, which has a lot of external deadlines, et cetera, that we need to kind of go through. It's not always on the Tuesday cadence. So I know like in August and September, those are meetings that I can't attend. But nonetheless, that's fine if we wanted to do a vice chair thing, and then I can just step back a little bit and let the vice chair manage the committee, and then we can figure out, and therefore, but whatever that's. Anyone else wants to talk or speak or?
Well, I'm kind of hesitant to, but I am, so it's overloaded already. And to take on the vice chair, chair, I don't have the local knowledge to be a chair. I would not feel comfortable because, just the topography, I don't have that knowledge. Vice chair.
Sure. There's also a position too, I talked to you before, there's.
Well, we need to talk. I'm not
Right.
gonna talk about.
Okay, that's right. The MPCC, currently I sit as a member of the TMAC by charter. But there's also an opening for a member at large on that committee that I can move to, and then that would facilitate someone from this committee to sit on that committee.
Mhm.
And I am,
Yeah.
he's expressed, actually way back at the beginning.
It makes sense for Gus.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, so there's a couple of things, I'm stepping back from chair on that one too as well, so.
Mhm.
Actually, I'm gonna be stepping, yes. somebody else might be vice chair of that, who knows? But, yeah, and I need to decant.
I get that.
I'm on the biosafety committee.
Huh,
That's during the day. I can
so
do
you have
that.
other issues you need to figure out.
Yeah. I like that.
Overcommitment. Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, whoever ends up doing it and whoever steps up, obviously you're a resource, Justin will be around. So it's not like flying solo.
yeah,
So yeah, what we can do is, next meeting we'll have, because everyone will be here and we'll have, an item on the agenda for election for officers.
what will be the process, so if you're now on the committee, Tyler? So are you still fielding all the incoming, are you still handling that too?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a product of not having a designated liaison, and that's something that I have been working on behind the scenes. The more clerical aspects of the job primarily. There is an advantage to because some of the petitions that come in are like, really shouldn't be petitions, they're like, there's a sign down, or this or that. It's helpful that I'm at least part of that I can see those messages, so that I can report them for our down the chain of command there. So I've kind of been triaging things. If there's something that's really more like, there should be a discussion about how this is done, then that's what ends up on the agenda. If I'm able to find somebody to help me do more of the, to do the clerical stuff, but also to kind of monitor the inbox, that kind of thing, that would be great, and I'd be totally willing to take a step back from being the sole conduit of that. But I'm not really sure if there's where that comes from to help me out. I've been talking internally, so, obviously Garrison's here, been helping us out doing this part of it. Traditionally, it was one person that did all that support stuff. But since I started in my old role, it's kind of become more like it's evolved as we set up our own email inbox. We kind of created some procedures that were a little different in terms of like, if something comes in that's really more of a DPW like work order, then I'm not going to put that on the agenda. If you have somebody that's not really educated in that,
They have to come to you for anything, everything.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a little,
It's
it's a
more
little
efficient.
tricky, but I would love to, kind of split some of that responsibility.
Delegate.
Delegate.
Yeah,
Cause I don't wanna be the sole decider, but it does help to triage those things.
well, and we appreciate it too, because we don't need all those things.
Yeah, cause but prior to me, when I was in that role, I was just going around all the time. But it was also a good way for me I didn't have to ask as many questions over time because I knew what was discussion and what wasn't. Prior to me, it was basically like the instructions were every time somebody submits a petition, you tell them that they're gonna do that. Right, we moved away from that. I think that's been good. Yeah, so. I'm trying to get some help, but for the meantime, I'm still at the wheel.
I was just thinking more in terms of like the emails that I don't know how much you're fielding them or what's coming to, how.
I don't get, so I'll get through Tyler, and then, and then so that's, the approval of the agenda and all this stuff, but that initial vetting will still goes through that.
Yeah, usually I'll like include Justin if it's a little bit more of a gray area, if there's some kind of interpretation, or maybe he has some knowledge of a previous petition. And then he's also been coming to some of these meetings that we've been having in the field, so it's been helpful too.
The neighborhood week, yeah.
Yeah,
So maybe just thinking a little bit more about what the division of labor would be and what you would want me to take versus what you would maintain, at least for the time being.
I mean,
We also probably need how many seats we have left on this committee, but I feel like we probably need another.
I'll look at the charter and see, because so we have a member that doesn't come. Yeah, we could, and other than that, I think it's actually.
weren't we actually?
Well, I- Yes. What's that? I have to, now that's, I have to go to Miles. I'll talk to Miles about what we're supposed to have by charter. You know what I mean? And I know some of that was changed. I know once we lost Seth and once we lost, she did the Elliott School zone.
Yeah.
I can't figure it,
Sudan.
Sudan.
Yeah.
We replaced both of those, but we never replaced Seth.
Mhm.
So I think we technically have one more civilian
Mhm.
that's on there, because there was Seth had gone down and
We had Bob.
I think,
Yeah,
I have to
yeah,
check.
we had Bob,
Electrical, yeah.
we had Bob for a bit too.
Oh, right,
He had
and-
stepped up.
So there is
Yeah.
somebody, there is an open position somewhere that just never got filled.
Yeah.
I forgot about Bob, you're right,
Okay, so to be continued.
yes, I will look that up and find out, and, but yes, yeah, I'll, just tag team it, I mean, I'll go to the neighborhood meetings and, have this topic, but,
All right. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting, thank you. Didn't have the word. I'd like to make a motion to have dinner.
yes, any discussion on the matter, hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, abstentions, good, we are done, thank you very much.
Thank you.